Welcome to the Healthy Body. Dr. Alex here. Today we're diving into a fascinating and often overlooked option for men struggling with erectile dysfunction, a peptide therapy called PT-141, also known as Bremelanotide. If you've ever tried medications like Viagra or Cialis and either they didn't work, or the results faded over time, you're not alone. Studies suggest that anywhere from 30 to 50% of men don't respond well to these drugs, or they find that the benefits wear off after a couple of years. What usually happens then? The dosage goes up, side effects increase, and eventually, the medication just stops working altogether. That can be frustrating and discouraging. But the good news is, there are alternatives. Today we're going to explore PT-141, how it works, what the research shows, potential side effects, different methods of using it, and even how it compares with standard medications. By the end, you'll have a deeper understanding of whether this little-known peptide might be a safe and practical option for you or your partner. Before we get into the details, let me quickly invite you to subscribe to The Healthy Body. This channel is all about practical, science-backed strategies to help you improve your energy, health, and overall quality of life. So if you find value in conversations like this, make sure to click that subscribe button. It's free, and it means you won't miss future insights that could make a real difference. Now let's start with a quick refresher on how the traditional erectile dysfunction medications, the PDE5 inhibitors, actually work. Drugs like Viagra or Cialis block an enzyme called PDE5. When this enzyme is blocked, nitric oxide, the signaling molecule your body produces, hangs around longer in your blood vessels. That nitric oxide causes the smooth muscle in the penis to relax, allowing blood to flow in and create an erection. Sounds good in theory. But here's the catch. These medications only work if your body already has enough nitric oxide production, healthy blood vessels, and responsive tissue. If your nitric oxide is depleted, your blood vessels are too damaged, or you have hormonal imbalances, nerve damage, or significant scar tissue in the erectile tissue, the pills often just don't work. That's why so many men are left frustrated, wondering if they've run out of options. Enter PT-141. So what exactly is PT-141? It's a synthetic peptide, meaning it's a small chain of amino acids designed to mimic natural hormones in the body. Specifically, PT-141 is related to a hormone called melanocyte-stimulating hormone, which interestingly has a role in sexual function at the level of the brain. That's the key difference. Viagra and Cialis work at the level of the penis by influencing blood flow. PT-141 works in the central nervous system, in the brain, stimulating the sexual response directly at the source. In fact, clinical trials going back as far as the late 1990s and early 2000s showed that PT-141 could trigger erections even in men who didn't respond at all to Viagra. That's remarkable, because it means the pathway it activates is independent of nitric oxide production. It essentially bypasses some of the roadblocks that make traditional medications ineffective. And here's another fascinating point. PT-141 has been studied in both men and women. In women, especially those approaching menopause, it has been shown to increase sexual desire and arousal. So it's not just a male-only therapy, it could potentially benefit couples on both sides. Now, how is PT-141 used? There are two main delivery methods. The first is as a nasal spray, literally inhaled a couple of hours before intimacy. The second is through a tiny subcutaneous injection, usually into the fat of the abdomen. Both methods have been studied, and both can work. In terms of dosing, research has used anywhere from 1 mg for mild enhancement up to 4 mg for men with more significant erectile dysfunction. Some people prefer the injection because it seems more reliable, but others like the nasal spray for convenience. And yes, you'll sometimes hear the phrase the werewolf stack. That's the name men in the biohacking community have given to combining PT-141 with traditional medications like Cialis. The idea is that the combination can produce longer, more powerful results than either option alone. Of course, no treatment is perfect. Let's talk side effects. The most common one reported with PT-141 is nausea, sometimes lasting an hour or so after use. Some men also report flushing, sweating, or a mild headache. With the nasal spray, you may notice a bitter taste, which isn't surprising since anything that drips from the nasal cavity can affect the taste buds. Importantly, though, PT-141 hasn't been associated with the cardiovascular side effects that Viagra and Cialis can cause, such as rapid heartbeat, vision changes, or significant blood pressure drops. That alone makes it appealing for men who either can't tolerate PDE5 inhibitors, or who have conditions that make those drugs unsafe. Let's pause here for a quick reminder. If you're finding this information useful, make sure you're subscribed. I share new insights regularly, not just about sexual health, but also about energy, hormone balance, nutrition, and longevity. These are all interconnected pieces of the same puzzle, and subscribing ensures you don't miss strategies that could transform your health and well-being. Now back to PT-141. Perhaps the most exciting study was published in the Journal of Urology in 2007. It looked at men who had failed standard erectile dysfunction treatments, the toughest cases, where the prognosis is usually poor. And yet, with PT-141, many of these men were able to achieve erections when nothing else had worked. That's why researchers called it a salvage therapy. For men who had given up hope, PT-141 represented a new chance. And remember, because it works on the brain level rather than the blood vessel level, it doesn't require sexual stimulation in the same way that Viagra does. Some men report spontaneous erections, which can be both surprising and encouraging. Now let's address the practical question: cost and accessibility. A 10 mg vial of PT-141 might run around $50 if sourced from certain compounding pharmacies, while a nasal spray preparation can cost closer to $250. That's not cheap, but here's a silver lining. Since it works for both men and women, couples can sometimes share it, effectively reducing the cost per person. At this point, I need to make something very clear. PT-141 is not officially FDA approved for erectile dysfunction. Doctors can sometimes prescribe it off-label through compounding pharmacies, but it's not marketed the way Viagra or Cialis is. That means you absolutely need to work with a knowledgeable healthcare provider if you're considering it. Some people also source it online from research chemical suppliers, but this comes with risks in terms of purity, quality, and legality. So I strongly recommend partnering with a qualified medical professional before trying it. One more important thing, PT-141 is not a magic bullet. Just like any other approach, it works best when combined with healthy lifestyle habits. For example, one of my patients, let's call him Daryl, reported excellent results with PT-141. He found it helped him maintain erections for up to 12 hours. But he also followed a structured nutrition plan, exercised regularly, and made sure his hormones were in balance. In other words, the peptide was part of the solution, not the entire solution. And that's a lesson we can all take to heart. Whether you're exploring medications, peptides, or natural therapies, the foundation will always be your overall health: diet, movement, sleep, and stress management. So let's recap. Traditional ED medications like Viagra and Cialis work by boosting nitric oxide at the penis level, but they don't work for everyone and often lose effectiveness over time. PT-141 is different. It works in the brain, stimulating sexual function through an entirely separate pathway. Clinical studies show it can succeed even in men who failed other treatments, and it may also improve sexual desire in women. Side effects are generally mild, with nausea being the most common. Delivery methods include both nasal spray and small injections. Cost can vary, and access is limited, but with the right medical guidance, it may be a viable option for those struggling with ED. If you've made it this far, I hope you can see just how promising PT-141 really is. But I'll leave you with this. Always approach these therapies thoughtfully, with the guidance of a professional who understands your individual health history. Your body is unique, and the best results always come from a personalized approach. And finally, if this video has given you new insights or hope, I'd encourage you to subscribe to The Healthy Body. Here, we explore not only sexual health but also energy, longevity, and vitality at every stage of life. Subscribing means you'll stay connected to practical, science-based tools that can help you feel and function at your very best. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm Dr. Alex, and I'll see you in the next video.